Hi, I'm your instructor, Frank Kane, and we're going to learn about Spark Streaming. Why should you listen to me? Well, I spent 9 years at Amazon.com and IMDb.com making sense of their massive data sets, and I've been staying up on the latest technology. A hot new technology now is Spark Streaming, and that not only lets you process massive data sets across a cluster of computers, it lets you do it in real time as that data comes in. At the end of this course, you'll be able to use Spark Streaming to process massive data sets as it comes in real time. Maybe it's user behavior data coming in from web logs. Maybe it's sensor data from Internet of Things applications. Whatever the source, big data processing is a very hot and valuable skill these days, and Spark Streaming is an important piece of technology for it. After getting everything set up, we'll dive right into a Spark Streaming application that actually processes a Twitter feed, live tweets in real time using Spark Streaming. And after that, I'll give you a crash course in the Scala programming language. Scala is what Spark itself is written in, and it's the best choice for doing Spark Streaming. Don't worry, Scala is not too hard to learn, and I'll give you lots of hands-on examples to get familiar with the language. It's not that hard. After that, we'll go through a bunch of simple Spark Streaming examples using our Twitter data and also using some simulated weblog data that's feeding into you. And we'll learn how to process and receive and transform and output data streams using Spark Streaming. Next, I'll show you how we can actually integrate Spark Streaming into other systems, including Spark SQL, Kinesis, Kafka, Flume, Cassandra, and more. And not just theory, I'm going to show you some real code that actually works with these technologies. After that, we'll do some more complicated stuff. I'll show you how to maintain stateful information in a Spark Stream and keep track of web sessions. And we'll actually do some real-time machine learning, believe it or not, using linear regression and k-means clustering using a real-time stream of data from Spark Streaming. Finally, we'll go through setting up Spark Streaming in a production environment. What do you need to set it up? How do you get it running on a cluster? How do you troubleshoot it? How do you tune its performance? We'll go through all of that and show you how it actually works in the real world. Is this course for you? Well, if you have any programming or scripting ability, then I think you can pick it up. Yeah, a little bit of experience with Spark or Scala would help, but it's not necessary. We do cover all those basics in the beginning of the course, so as long as you have some programming or scripting experience, you should be okay. So now let's just dive in and get you set up with the software that you need. Let's get you set up with the software that you need. So all we need to do is install three things. One is a Java development kit. Reason being that even though we're developing in Scala, Scala itself runs on top of the Java runtime. So the fundamental thing that we need is a Java development environment. After that, we'll go download the Spark package itself and just set a couple of environment variables so your system knows where to find it. And finally, we'll install the Scala IDE, which will install both Scala and an IDE, the Eclipse IDE, to develop it in. That'll make life a little bit easier. So let's dive in. So let's just plow through this, shall we? First thing we're going to do is install a JDK. So if you head over to oracle.com, you should be able to find the Java downloads page. There'll be a link to all these things in the external resources for the lecture as well, so you don't have to copy these down if you don't want to, but just search for JDK and it will bring you to this page. We're going to download the latest JDK for your specific operating system. I'm on 64-bit Windows, so I'm just going to grab this guy right here. After accepting the license agreement, and we'll let that come down. And now that that's downloaded, let's go ahead and run it. Typical Windows installer. Now, something that's a little bit unusual, though, is that it's actually going to install two things, a Java runtime environment and a Java development kit. And we're going to have to remember where we put the Java development kit, because we need to set an environment variable for that shortly. So we'll just walk through this, and you can pretty much accept the defaults, but again, this is the magic path that we're going to need to find later. So remember where that went, because we're going to need to find that path later on. And we'll just walk through this, skip ahead a little bit through the magic of video editing. And there we have it. Our JDK and Java runtime environment are installed. So let's move on to the next step. Let's go ahead and get Spark itself, shall we? So if we head over to spark.apache.org/downloads.html, you should find a page that looks like this. And I want you to get at least Spark version 2.0. You will need that at a minimum to run this course successfully. And you want to make sure you have a pre-built version of it. So make sure it's pre-built for Hadoop something. It doesn't really matter what version on Windows. So we want a direct download, and we'll just go ahead and use that link that they give us and suck that down. Now what it's bringing down here is a TGZ file. That's a Unix compression format, kind of like a zip file on Windows. But Windows doesn't come with TGZ file support built in. So you might have to go and download a third-party utility to actually decompress this file on Windows. If you don't have one already, one I use is called WinRAR, and you can download that from rarlab.com/download.htm, just like this, and download the version for your operating system, for example 64-bit Windows. So once you have that installed, you can actually right-click on these things and install them from the Explorer. So let's go ahead and do that. Navigate to my Downloads folder, and we will right-click on Spark 2.0.tgz, extract to this folder. And if we open that up, we have Spark itself. And what we need to do is put this somewhere safe. You probably don't want to keep this in your Downloads folder. So let's go ahead and select all here with Control A and copy it all with Control C. And I'm going to put it in a folder on my C drive. So I'm going to open up my C drive and make a new folder called Spark. So I'm inside my C Spark folder here, and I'm going to paste in the contents of the Spark directory. There we have it. So it should look like this at this point. We have a C Spark folder, and inside of it we had a bin folder, conf folder, and so on and so forth. And that is Spark itself. And the beauty of it is that since it's all built on Scala, which is built on top of Java, it all just works. You don't need a special Windows version or anything. Now we're going to do a little bit of tweaking of the configuration here. So open up the conf folder here. And I want you to make sure that on the View tab here, the file name extensions is checked off. Otherwise you'll get confused. So you should see a folder that says log4j.properties.template. I want you to click on that and take off the .template. Yeah, I'm sure. Now, I already have properties files associated with WordPad, but you might have to right click on this and say open with and specify something like WordPad to edit that file. So go ahead and do so, and you should see something like this. What I want you to do is change this info here to error. And that will just change the log level of Spark for you. It'll drive you a little bit less crazy that way. So trust me, you want to do that. Save that and quit it. And we have configured things to our heart's desire. Now, one thing specific to Windows that's a little bit quirky is we need to trick Spark into thinking that Hadoop is present. And obviously you're not actually running a Hadoop cluster on your Windows desktop, but there's one little piece that we need to install to kind of make Spark believe that there is. And if you go to this link here, and again, this link is in the external resources for this lecture and also in the written instructions here. Go ahead and download that. Yes, it's an executable file. No, there's no virus in it, I promise. If you want to go find this on some other site just to make yourself feel better, go ahead, but whatever. So we should have a winutils.exe file here in our downloads. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go back to my C drive and create a new folder called winutils, just like that. Open that up and create a folder inside winutils called bin, just like that. And if I go inside there, so at this point I should be in C winutils bin and copy that winutils.exe file that I just downloaded into there. Okay, so make sure this is all exactly right. One little mistake is all it takes to mess this whole thing up. All right, so let's go and set the environment variables that we need right now. So to do that, I'm going to right click on the Windows icon here and go to Control Panel, click on System and Security, click on System, and from there click on Advanced System Settings. And there, finally, we have our Environment Variables button. So hit that. So let's set up a few new user environment variables here. So go ahead and click the New button here on the top part of this screen. And first thing we're going to enter is Spark_home, just like that. Make sure it's all uppercase, Spark_home. And what we're going to put in here is the path we put our Spark installation into, which was C:\Spark, just like that. All right, we're also going to set up Java Home if you don't already have one. And that's going to be where we install Java to in the first step. So to remind yourself of that, you might have to go back to your program files directory here and look for Java. And that is where we put it. So we want this path right here. A little trick, you can click up here and copy it out of the Explorer and paste it in there. I also could have hit the browse directory folder and found it that way if I wanted to. All right. Now we also need to set up Hadoop Home, just like that, Hadoop_home, and that's going to be where we put the winutils stuff. So that's going to be C:\winutils. And finally, we need to adjust our path. So you should already have a path directory. If not, create one and hit Edit. And we're going to add two things to the path here. Hit New. First one's going to be $Spark_home $bin. Okay, just like that. Hit New again. And we'll also add in %Java underscore home %bin. All right. So double check, this is all very important to get right. We have a Spark home set to C Spark. We have a Java home set to where we install Java. We have Hadoop home set to C WinUtils. And our path again has %Spark underscore home %bin and Java home /bin as well. Okay. Go ahead and OK out of all this stuff. We're done with our system environment variables now. And what we're going to do next is install the Scala IDE. So if I head over to scala-ide.org, I can click the big friendly download IDE button for my operating system, which is going to be, for me, Windows 64-bit. And we'll wait for that to come down. Okay, so if I open this up in my downloads folder, you'll see it's just a big old zip file, and I can just right-click on that and extract it. And the beauty of the Scala IDE is that it too is just built on top of Java, so there's nothing special to install, it's just a bunch of files. So let's go ahead and let that decompress for a while. We'll come back when that's done. Okay, so the Scala IDE has finished decompressing, and what we're left here is an Eclipse folder. And inside there you'll see an Eclipse executable, and that is the Scala IDE right there. That's all there is to it. All it is a special version of Eclipse. So you probably don't want to leave this in your downloads folder, so I would go ahead and copy that Eclipse folder and put it somewhere safe. I put mine under my C drive under Eclipse. And to make life a little bit easier, you can create a little shortcut to your desktop there so you can get to it easily like I've done here. Okay. All right, and that's pretty much everything you need. So let's try it out. Let's see if it works. So go ahead and open up a Windows command prompt. You can do that by right-clicking on your Windows icon here and select Command Prompt Admin. Depending on your privileges, you might need to run as an administrator, so you may as well. So let's go to the directory that we installed Spark. So we'll go to cd space c:\/ and that will get us into the Spark directory where we copied Spark into. If you do a dir, you should see a directory listing there. Okay, so you should be seeing something a little like this. Now, depending on what version you've installed, there may be different files in here, and that's okay. Well, we want to find a text file of some sort. So usually there's going to be a readme.md file or maybe a changes.txt file, or even the license file will do. But what we're going to do is write a little simple Scala Spark application that will count the number of lines in a given file. So let's try it out. Let's go ahead and type in spark-shell. And what we should get in a few seconds is a Scala prompt for Spark. Cool. All right, so you should be seeing this at this point. If not, something is wrong. Go back and double check all those installation steps carefully. Like I said, all it takes is one misstep or one mistypo, and things can go wrong. Now, if you are going to go back and adjust your environment variables, make sure that you close out of the command prompt and open up a new one, because it only picks up changes in environment variables when you open up the shell. All right, so assuming you got to this point, let's play with it. See if it works. So follow along with me here. Type in val space rdd equals sc.textfile with a capital F. Case is important here. Open parenthesis. That's a parenthesis, not a less than sign. Quote. And we're going to use the readme.md file that was in there. End quote. And close parenthesis. All right, so just like that. And you should see something like that. And now what we have here is what's called a resilient distributed dataset, which is a Spark construct for basically a database of information. What we've done is create a little mini database where every row is a line of that text file. So let's count them all up. Type in rdd.count, open, close parenthesis, and that should give us the number of lines in that file, 99. So there you have it, your very first Spark application running on your Windows desktop. Congratulations, you got this far. So we got everything set up now. We can move on to doing something more interesting. Again, quick note, if you're on Mac OS, follow the instructions that are attached to this lecture. I recommend using Homebrew to get set up nice and quickly using Mac OS. On Linux, you'll have to use whatever package manager you like to make sure that Java and Scala are installed first before setting up the Spark installation package. So there you have it. We're all ready to go. Congratulations. To get out of this, just hit Control-D, and that will get you back outside of the Scala shell, and you can close out of that window. All right, let's move on. So congratulations. Believe it or not, you just got through probably the most tedious and difficult part of this course. Getting all that stuff set up properly is a bit of a chore, But hey, you got it done now, and we have an actual working development environment now for Scala and Spark streaming. And hey, we actually saw it running. We actually ran a little bit of Spark code there to analyze a little text file really simply. So, woo, time to rock and roll, right? So next lecture, let's actually do something with all this stuff we installed, and we're going to play around with some Twitter streams and see what we can do with them. Let's check it out.